Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I am super excited for today's conversation because we have an absolutely powerhouse joining us. Adam Gillespie is a Denver-based realtor, AI, and CRM coach, and one of the brightest minds in our industry, and especially when it comes to automation and scaling technology. He is the founder of Agent Prompt University and Apex Elite AI, where he helps agents build smarter business through AI-driven systems. Adam's being recognized on the big stage as the winner of 2024 Eman AI Award, and he continues to shape the future of real estate with tools and strategies that allow agents to better nurture leads, manage clients, and ultimately grow their business. And as part of the Wolfpack at eXp Realty, Adam is not only a realtor, but also a speaker, a coach, and a tech strategy impacting thousands of agents worldwide. Stick around, hit the subscribe button, and stay tuned to hear more about Adam's AI strategies and his powerful RGC method. Hey everyone, here I am, so thrilled to have Adam Gillespie. I already brag about him in this intro, but now you're gonna get to hear from him. First and foremost, Adam, thank you so much for spending your time today with us. I know you're gonna be dropping a lot of knowledge, and I'm super grateful.
Awesome, dude. Yeah, I'm so excited that you wanted me on. So I'm super pumped to jam out with you. It's, we've been in our network now for a couple of years, and it's always fun to see you in person. And now we finally get to jam out on the pod. So that's
I know we're taking to the next level.
Yes.
Well, I know I kind of gave an intro of all the amazing things that you're involved, that you're doing, you've been up to. But if you just let's go a little bit deeper. And if you just kind of give an intro so people can get to know who Adam is, from where you started even before real estate and where are you today. Just give us a little closed loop.
Yeah. So, what's up, guys? I'm Adam Gillespie. I am a 10th grade dropout, and I thought I was going to be a famous musician. So that's kind of why I left high school so early. Also, I didn't do a very good job at it, but that's for another conversation. But yeah, I thought for sure that I was going to be this famous musician. I had been involved in a lot of bands at a very early age. I started my first band when I was in 7th grade. And we were winning talent shows and stuff like that. But then fast forward into high school, right around that 10th grade time, I started a band called Victims of Society. And I had to get work permits so we could play shows. My parents used to have to come to the venues with me so they could serve alcohol while I was on stage playing. And it was just this whole thing. So I thought for sure that I was going to be famous. Eventually, in about 2004, started a band called No One Left Standing with a couple of groups of my buddies from high school. And we took that on a 10-year run. We won the KBPI's Best Band in Denver, which, for those of you that aren't from Colorado, KBPI is our Clear Channel radio station. So it's the major rock station there. We did 2 back-to-back wins on that. And that put me on stage with bands like Korn, Slipknot. We played with Linkin Park and just a lot of these really big superstar bands. So I was living that dream. And then fast forward about 2014, started to realize there's not a lot of money in this, right? And it's kind of multifaceted because we didn't really have any business skills at that point. We were just kind of drinking and playing music, and that was just the way it went. But I had already met my wife before we started this new band, and we had a child. So I came home off of a tour back in 2014 towards the winter, and just kind of saw the look in my wife's eyes, dang, I don't know, if this is going to work, So I knew right then and there that I had a major decision to make. Did I want to be a family man and have my wife and everything that I worked so hard for? Or do I want to give up on that lifelong dream, right? And it was a very easy decision for me to make at that point because family is the most important thing in the world to me. I loved my son and my daughter and my wife, and the music just wasn't really doing the level of fulfillment that I thought it was going to be. So I made the decision to go ahead and leave that. But then I found myself in my early 30s with no high school education, no college education, and my only skill set was really music. So I'm like, if I want to do anything to be able to provide for my family, I'm going to need to start my own business and become an entrepreneur. So that's kind of how that started. I went into contracting first, started a general contracting company, and we grew a little bit too big. Within the whole company lasted about like a year and a half, 2 years. And within that time, we actually scaled to over 25 employees. We had a lot of different contracts going, and it was a lot. It was a lot. Any of you guys that are listening to this that have ever had employees probably know exactly where I'm coming from, but it was too much for me. So I wanted, for the first time in my life, to kind of put the entire ball in my court, because with the band, I had to depend on everybody. We all had to do our part in order to make the dream work, right? And that was kind of one of the issues that we were having, is not everybody was willing to do that. And then the same thing in the contracting company. I had to rely on employees showing up and all this. So I had thought about real estate for quite a bit. There was always something very intriguing about, helping people find homes. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to do this. So I literally woke up one morning super stressed in February of 2017. And I said, you know what, I'm done. I gave my portion of the LLC back to my brother-in-law, who was my business partner, and I went to real estate school. And ever since then, I started to realize how similar real estate was to being a professional musician. And it's very interesting, because as a professional musician, we're trying to get people to see us and hear us, right? Same thing as a real estate. We need to try to get people to notice us, to see what value we can bring to them in their journey. So I noticed that there was a lot of similarities in between being a musician and real estate. And I kind of realized at that point in time, I'm like, dude, this is dope, because if I can master this, then it can change the entire fabric of my current life, and for the better. And then if I fail at it, there's nobody else to blame for me. And I love being put into a corner like that, where it's just like, look, dude, it's all you or nothing. So I started doing that, and it's been honestly the best decision I ever made in my life. I started off a little slow with real estate, so it took me like 7 months to do my first deal. I was kind of on lonely island. I think a lot of new agents that are listening to this are probably in the same position right now, where they're like, oh man, I joined this brokerage and they said they're going to do all this stuff for me, but now I'm just kind of here trying to figure out what to do every day. And that was a struggle. So it took me 7 months to get my first commission check. But from there, it just kind of started to snowball. I just started to learn what I needed to do every day. And then that brought me into where we're at now with the real estate. And, in 2023, I joined the Wolf Pack. And that was probably one of the most impactful things that has ever happened to me inside of being an entrepreneur in general. And I got surrounded with a lot of people that have my best interest in mind, which was strange for me, because usually that's not the case, right? So they helped me discover my ability with AI. I have always kind of geeked out on technology and AI. To kind of back up, back when the band was going in 2004, there was this social media website called MySpace. Some of you might remember it, some of you might not, but MySpace was significantly cooler than Facebook, in my opinion, because we could put music on our pages, and we could comment on people's pages, not just their posts. So what we did is we created an automated robot that would automatically post my band's music onto famous people's pages in their comment section with the autoplay function enabled. And that racked us up thousands and thousands of plays on MySpace and made us look much bigger than we really were, which is kind of like marketing 101, right? Like, you are as big as you present yourself online. So we did this, and this is how we ended up winning all these competitions and creating a big following. So when I got into real estate and AI was kind of starting to become a thing, so let's go back to November 2022 when ChatGPT came out, I realized oh my God, we can do kind of the same thing, right? But not only that, this is significantly smarter than an automated bot. This is the most intelligent thing we've ever had for humans. So I realized that it could help me plan my business. I could clone myself inside of it. I could make it talk like me. And I just started rolling with that. But I honestly thought everybody else was doing that too. And then it was Mike and Louie and Jeremy kind of showed me no, nobody's doing this, dude. So you need to turn this into a training. And that was basically how Apex Lead AI was born. So now I spend my days doing real estate, training agents, hosting courses, and doing all this fun stuff. And it's really cool, because this, in my opinion now, and it might just be me aging myself, but this is so much more fun than being on the road and touring with the band in the back of a small van with a bunch of dirty guys, right? miserable being on tour. And this feels like this is what I was meant to do. So that's how I got here, guys.
That is so cool. I mean, like even you saying that you're already using bot in 2000, like when it was MySpace, 2004?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It just blows my mind. I mean, like the last thing I was thinking about that time was, how to create anything automated. And I come from a tech background, so that is super cool. And I love how, you were able to see similarities of two different fields, like music and real estate, but, you use the skill sets that you're already using to promote yourself in a whole different world. Because, I mean, music and real estate is different. But yet the marketing part of it, it's still you need to market yourself. Otherwise, how people are going to find out who you are, what you do, how you serve. So that is super cool. And I think that, it's segue very cool to my next questions that I wanted to ask you, just because I feel like this business and real estate and being an entrepreneur, like your mindset needs to be like on point, and you're able to see something that you did before and try to replicate somewhere else. Because I feel like I come from the tech side, and when I got into real estate, for me, there were so many things on that side that was like, this is so easy. Like I already been doing that, but someone else was my boss. But now I can just do that, and I am my own boss, and I can build whatever I want. There's no limit. So if you can just share a little bit of, just the footsteps going to your mindset. I know you shared such an amazing transition into the business, but how has that been helping you, just kind of stay focused and know what you're doing, and you're doing great with the whole AI stuff.
Thanks. Yeah. It was very challenging. I had a very bad mindset until I found the wolf pack, and we call it imposter syndrome, right? So my whole life, my childhood was pretty rough. I didn't have a lot of friends. I was early at 6 years old, I was diagnosed with ADHD and OCD. So I kind of lived a big portion of my life heavily medicated. Eventually it was like, I got to get off of that. But that mindset that was basically ingrained into me stuck with me. So the biggest battles that I would have is like, do I really deserve to be here? Right? Or should I just be doing something, along the lines of where I came from, just go get a regular job somewhere. But I knew deep down inside that would never be fulfilling enough. And I've always been a dream chaser. So I had to battle back and forth with that imposter syndrome. And it was a very, very difficult journey. But throughout that journey, I did realize that, dude, mindset is everything. Right? What we tell ourselves every day, and no one has ever been meaner to me than myself. And I think that a lot of people could probably agree with that's listening to this right now. We are our worst critics, and you can get stuck into this loop of negativity where you just tell yourself you don't deserve things, and you tell yourself that you haven't earned it. And even though you really have, I think it's easy for us to discount the efforts that we make to try to make our lives better, and we get stuck inside this inner voice. So I had to learn really quickly how to adjust that mindset. And this is funny because when I got into real estate, I saw everybody doing this self-help stuff, right? And I had always had this negative view on it. I'm like, self-help, whatever, I got this. But then when it meant something, and I had to I went into real estate, and not a lot of people have the same thing, but it was like, I either do this or I am a very, very low wage paid worker somewhere. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it wasn't what I wanted in life. Like, I want to create experiences for my family. I want to be able to take my kids on vacation. I want to be able to give my wife the life that I think that she deserves, But the hard part is that deep down inside, I didn't think I deserved it. So that was hard to deal with. And I didn't realize that it was proximity, right? It was the people that I was surrounding myself with. So as I went on to this journey to become an entrepreneur, a lot of the people that I hung out with at the time, they weren't on that same journey. So I would get criticized on that level as well. And I learned a very hard lesson. And it was like, I may have to dismiss some people that were very close to me in life in order to have this journey become successful. And when I actually made that decision to distance myself from the naysayers, I got into self-help. I was like, this might be why. I wonder if it's just the nature of this business as to why so many realtors are into self-improvement and mindset. So I just was like, you know what? I'm going to take the pill. I'm going to take the plunge. I'm going to do it. I'm going to I'm going to take the pill and I'm going to go for it. And oh my God, that is probably the best thing that I could have ever done, because it did help me shift that mindset into, instead of lack, it was more abundance and possibilities, and get you more excited. So it changed the very fabric of the base level thought modes that I had inside my head. And I started feeling more like I could do this. And it's really funny because Louie and I, we talk a lot about this, and he's like, you need to find your value. You need to understand your value, right? And this is where a lot of us, especially new real estate agents, right? We think, okay, so we went to school, we come out, but do we really know how to do real estate? And the answer is yes, you do. You know more than most people, even though it doesn't feel like that. So if you can get that little inner voice to shut up a little bit, then you can go out there and you can actually perform at a higher level. And that's kind of what this journey has been since 2017, is not only learning how to do real estate, but finding my true self, finding what my true passion and why is, and then getting that mindset dialed into the proper way, you know?
No, absolutely. I mean, I would say like I've been kind of drinking the Kool-Aid for a while as far as like, mindset growth, but I was a little bit in a stuck moment before I got into real estate. So I was hungry for more, and that's what it kind of got me to real estate. But it is super cool. And I think it does make a difference as well, proximity, right? If the people around you are not into that, and if they just want to keep it to themselves, whatever they're doing that is working for them, and they don't want to share, the ropes and the steps, it does make it hard. And unfortunately, there are some, groups out there that are very siloed. And I know a lot of, especially, for new real estate agents, that they get, very sad in the beginning, thinking like, and questioning themselves, like, did I make the right decision? But I think it is like, if you knew you wanted to do that, which I always say this, and not sure if every real estate agent appreciates that, like, real estate is not for everybody, but I think it can change your life if you are willing to do the work, because there is work involved in that, even though there's no limits, but there is work. And I think it's just, but it is amazing. Your mindset is going to be the strongest thing that you can ever work on for anything you want to do, right? That's going to affect your family. It's going to affect your work. It's going to affect you personally, obviously. And so I'm all about, investing. And yeah, I do think that, fortunately, we are part of an amazing group that, pours on us to stay focused, to have goals, to know your value, which is such a huge thing. And even people that thinks like, oh, look at you, you're already confident. We all go through our ups and downs and struggles. I feel like when you go from a next level, it's a different thing that you're working on yourself. So kind of going alongside with this as well, what would you be some of the things that you share, especially thinking a little bit for a new agent, what today, you already shared a little bit about the mindset, but what are other things that you would share that if you could tell your younger self as a realtor, maybe things that you would have done differently, or how would you position yourself? Any kind of, thoughts on that?
Yeah. Oh boy, do I have some thoughts on that. I think the biggest thing is I would have interviewed more brokerages. So, I would have allowed myself a little bit more grace in finding the right place. So to put a little context behind it, I've done 10 brokerages since 2017. So what is that, 8 years? A little bit over 8 years. And I went through 10 different brokerages. And this is because this industry has a lot of promises. And, brokerages can be known to drag you in, or not drag you, that's a bad word. I'd say can lure you in under the pretense of something that they probably actually won't provide, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I don't go into a brokerage and expect them to do everything for me, but I'm a brand new agent at this time. I don't know what I'm doing. And for those of you that are new agents, you're going to totally understand this. And even the experienced agents, school just teaches you how to stay out of jail. It doesn't teach you real estate, right? Like, there is so much more behind this job than just knowing the laws around real estate. We need to learn psychology. We need to learn marketing. We need to learn accounting. We need to learn to wear all of the hats that a normal business would have all of these different employees on. This becomes very overwhelming. So what I would do is I would join a brokerage and I would stagnate. And then I would say, you know what, this isn't my type of people. This isn't my type of environment. And I would leave. So the one thing that I think I did do right was that I never stayed into an environment that I didn't want to be in, which I think a lot of new agents will do just because they're afraid of what that next step would be. So we commit ourselves to things. And this is typical in all different facets of life, right? You're like, well, I've got time invested on this. I don't want to just hit the reset button. But the reality is that you can. And it's actually really helpful to do so. I did it 10 times in 8 years. Like, not many people that I talk to in this industry can say that they've done as many brokerages as I've done in that short amount of time. And this isn't something to be proud of, but I am proud of it in a way because it's like I never settled. And I don't want you guys to ever settle. Like, you have to find your spot. There is a spot for you in this industry, but you have to find it. And it took me a little bit of ways to find it. So if I was brand new again, I think the biggest thing that I would change would be, number one, would have been the mindset of lack, you know, and change that to the mindset of abundance, to know that anything's possible. There's enough deals to go around for everybody. It does not matter. And this is one of the things in this industry where I think we've kind of broke through this in our group, but a lot of other groups haven't, where they'll give you a little bit, but they won't give you the whole playbook. And if you're brand new and you've never done real estate before, like, now you have to reinvent the wheel. And that is difficult. So I would just encourage anybody who's just getting their license or just getting started to not be so dedicated to one specific thing. If it's not working, then don't be afraid to jump to the next thing and figure the next thing out, because eventually you're going to find yourself in proximity with the right people, and they're going to lift you up and they're going to help you grow. And then you're going to realize, like, oh man, I can do this.
Yeah, no, I do feel very lucky because since day one, I feel like I've been with the best team and the best group. So I didn't have the need to jump around. But you know, but here we are, and it's all different experiences, right? And I think the key thing that you say there is not settling, because from time to time, and I know you probably know the same because we talk to agents all the time, and there's always that piece of like the fear that paralyzes you. And then you just kind of like, you know your potential, but at the same time, because maybe you're not getting the tools, the right playbooks and whatnot, and then you just feel like stuck. So you stay longer. Obviously, everything is a learning for, we're on our own journey, but I agree with you, like not settling, just know that you're gonna learn more. If you do need to jump around, by all means, until you find the right place. And when you know when it feels right? Yes. You know when it feels right. Well, one part that I definitely want to make sure that we dive in here, which is your expertise, AI. Oh my God, you've been using AI forever. Like, this is so cool, which I love it because it even shows like you're passionate about it. And that's how, something that you becoming, like, I would say probably in our group, like when I think about AI, it's like Adam Gillespie, like your name is the one that jumps in because I know you're being invested and you are just taking things to the next level. So if you can, just kind of dive in a little bit of like how you use AI on your day-to-day, even if you're gonna give a background and how you kind of start implementing them from the beginning and where you're at now.
Yeah. So I've always been a little bit of a computer geek. I was a big gamer back in the day. I don't game much now. I don't have time for it. But I was always kind of into the digital aspect of things. And like I said, this is how we grew our band and everything like that. So I understood the value of it. But in November of 2022, my sister calls me. She's also in real estate. She gives me a call and she's like, hey, have you heard of this new thing called ChatGPT? And I'm like, no, because I'm like, neck deep in real estate at this point in time, and nobody was talking about it in our industry yet. And so I'm like, yeah, what is this ChatGPT thing? She's like, oh, it's kind of like a new Google. And I was like, oh, cool. So I went and played with it. I signed up for the free plan and started playing with it. And that was my initial first thought, was like, oh, okay. Like, so instead of just browsing a bunch of Google results, I can kind of have it summarized and it speaks a little bit more like a human instead of just search results. And I don't have to go through all those ads to find out what the actual context was that I was trying to achieve. And then I was like, well, what else can this do? And it was really just a process of trial and error after that. So I'm like, okay, I can use this to search and find search results, but what if it could talk like me? right? Because that was the big thing about ChatGPT was like, oh, it talks like a human, right? And it didn't really talk like a human, in my opinion. I felt like it talked like a robot. So I was like, if I could train this to know everything about me and my business and duplicate my speaking style, then I wonder what else I could use it for in this business. So that was one of the first things that I did was I went into it and I just tried to educate it on me, my business, and my speaking style. And that was kind of the aha moment where I was like, holy crap, this is literally the smartest thing that we have ever seen in humanity, period, right? Even Sunjay Patar from Google has said that this advancement in AI could be have a higher impact on humanity than the discovery of fire, right? Wow. And this is coming from a very high-level CEO of one of the most technologically advanced companies in the world. And you have to really take that into consideration. It's like, is he puffing or is this legit? So I realized that in order for me to fully understand and wrap my head around this technology, I should probably learn a little bit more about it, right? Because I was trying to use it inside my business to do things and it was giving me subpar results. But I'm like, I know there's a way through this. So I realized that, hey, I like to do research. So why don't I just research large language models, machine learning, and, natural language processing? So I went out into the internet world and started finding where I could learn about this. Now, in November of 2022, when this came out, we didn't have AI courses, right? There wasn't, you couldn't just, like now we scroll through Facebook and you can see MIT, you can see all your local colleges offering all these courses and stuff. I didn't have any of that. That wasn't available. So I went back to the original source, which would have been IBM, right? For those of you guys that don't know, IBM actually created one of the first models to ever really outsmart humans. And this was IBM's Watson model. And when we saw this was back in the 90s, they brought it onto Jeopardy and it like smoked everybody, right? So I went to the IBM website and I'm like, is there any learning here? Well, sure enough, there is. So I took a couple of courses through IBM on, foundational understanding of large language models, data processing, machine learning, and natural language processing, and the transformer technology that we have behind these generative pre-trained transformers. So I took these courses and it gave me that understanding to say, okay, so these things use like, I won't go down the rabbit hole of it, but instead of reading words, they use tokens, and these are just basically chunked out versions of words with little code behind it. And I learned kind of how it operated. And once I had that foundational understanding of it, I was like, now let's try to implement it into my business. So then I started trying to focus on all of the practical applications inside of real estate that we could use this for. So it goes beyond creating listing descriptions, right? I'm like, could I find out somebody's personality profile based on scraping data online from them? Yes, you can, right? Oh, great. Well, then maybe I could adjust my negotiation strategy based around their disc profile. So I started attempting to do that. I started learning more negotiation skills because this is like more of a consultative approach versus just prompting and getting an answer. I would start talking back and forth with ChatGPT. I would say, hey, I have this realtor on the other side of the transaction. Here's what I was able to pull off the internet. Looks like she's going to be a high C on the disc scale there. This is where we're at in the deal. We're negotiating an inspection. I found these things wrong on the buyer side and I need to negotiate with the seller. So what would be the best way to approach it? And sure enough, ChatGPT is like, great, you're dealing with a high conscientious personality. So you being a driver or a director, you should probably take a step back from the shortness and let's get more into the data and analytics for that. So it taught me how to negotiate with different personality types, which completely changed the results that I got when I was negotiating. And then I'm like, well, maybe it could even tell me what the average cost to repair an item in a home is based on an inspection report, right? So I started just plugging it into all these different areas. In some areas it works, in some areas it didn't. And when I'd find something that didn't work, I started realizing like, maybe it's not the technology, maybe it's me. So this is where I was like, I need to become a prompt engineer. I need to learn how to talk to AI so that way I can get the results that I'm looking for with AI. So I just keep going down these paths. It was a very long journey. I guess it's short if you think about it in a grand aspect of time, but it took me about a year or two to dial it in. And now, guys, it's not going to take you this long because the models are significantly smarter now than they were before. And then you also have to understand something about my personality where I'm like, when I got my first car, I was like, I need to learn how this car runs. In order for me to properly operate this vehicle, I should understand the process of a combustion engine, right? I need to understand how a transmission works. So my personality likes to dive into the mechanical side of things, but that was really what changed it for me, as I started learning how to prompt and talk to the AI better. Like for example, establishing a role. We call this role priming. So anytime I go to prompt ChatGPT or Gemini or any large language model, I follow 3 main steps. Now there's thousands of ways you can prompt, but the main for us in real estate is a technique that I call RGC, or role, goal, and context. So every time I prompt a model, I give it a role, right? So let's say, for instance, I'm creating a Facebook ad for a first-time homebuyer program. Well, I won't just go into ChatGPT and say, hey, help me create an ad for a first-time homebuyer program. I've realized that these models, especially large language models, they're trained on all this data, but they don't really know what direction you're going to take unless you tell them. So I would do a thing called role priming, where I would say, you will act as an expert copywriter specializing in the real estate industry and help me create ad copy for a first-time homebuyer program. So that's the R in the RGC. I've given it this role, right? And then the goal is going to be to create an ad based on the first-time homebuyer program. And then the context is everything about my business. Right? So when I went through this process previously where I taught ChatGPT about my business, I was able to get that summary of my business into a document. So then I would bring that into the chat. So now ChatGPT knows it needs to be an expert copywriter specializing in real estate, but it also knows that everything about my business. It knows my goals, my target avatar, the struggles that my clients experience and how I want to approach that. And next thing you know, it's writing the ads that are not only in my speaking and voice style, but they have the context required. So this is the RGC method. We're giving it a role, we're establishing a goal, and we're providing it with as much context as physically possible. And that changed those outputs from being generic to being highly custom PhD level outputs. And that is the main game changer. So that'd be my little tip for everybody on the pod today would be, role prime, establish the goal, and give it as much context as possible, and you will have a completely different experience with your AI models.
No, I mean, this is amazing. And I hope if you guys are listening, you're like, what did he just say? You can, actually pause, rewind, go back, take notes, because this will totally change. One, as you say, I feel like people are still using ChatGPT as a Google search, just because it's a little bit easier to read, right? You don't need to consume all the links. It kind of compress everything and answer a little bit more direct. But, especially, if you're listening to this, you are in real estate, you have to take the time to tell ChatGPT who you are, what's your business all about. It needs to know, you. I mean, I definitely, I'm just like, hey, you need to know I'm Brazilian. The way that I speak, my tone, let's put everything 8th grade. I don't want it to be complicated,
Exactly.
So I remember in the beginning, I thought it was just so cheesy, but it sounds more like me than other words you will say. I'm like, I will never use this word. And if I feel like it's someone that knows me is reading this, it'll be like, Amanda's becoming just like another level right now. And it just doesn't feel real, right? And I know in the world we live today with AI and social media and all of that, we still need to find our ways to show that we're being unique and genuine and who we are, because, you won't be able to fake that when you actually meet the person, in person, right? So what they see on social and how you speak, it needs to equal when they actually meet you, face to face. And then, you already shared an amazing nugget in there and how to approach it, because even to me, I definitely just took mental note on this, and I'm going to go back because I feel like sometimes I am still speaking to it in a way of just this is what I'm trying to do. I'm starting with the goal. So I will do the 2 and 3, but I'm not doing the 1. And I think that in itself already is going to change my results. So thank you for that nugget in there. And, and thank you for sharing about AI. So today, what are the things that you are, doing in your business? I know you are still heavily involved with, with real estate, but I know you're coaching, you're helping other agents. So share a little bit more about what are all the things that, anybody can get help from you as an agent as well.
Yeah. So, one of the things is when I realized, and I have to thank, Mike Sherrard and Louis Galt and Jeremy Kane and Connor Steinbrook on this, because they were the ones that really helped me realize that I had more to offer than just to be an agent. Right. And I don't want to minimize being an agent. I think this is a very impactful job that we do here. Like I tell my clients, like I don't sell houses. I advise and consult about the process so they can make a good decision on where they want to spend the next chapter of their lives. And this is time you don't ever get back, right? So we help people decide where they're going to raise their children, where they're going to create their memories. This is huge, right? A lot of us think that, I just sell houses. It's like, no, you don't. You help people figure out where they want their life to unfold. And that is a very big deal. Like we help people, right? The biggest thing that I realized is that if I was going to teach other agents how to utilize AI, I had to figure out a way to stay in real estate, because there's nothing more that I don't trust than a coach that's not in real estate. Right. And I don't mean I'm not bad mouthing any one specific coaches or anything like that. But if you're teaching sales tactics that worked in 2015 and 2025, like I'm telling you right now, they don't work anymore. This is one of the most fluid industries I've ever experienced, and things change on a daily basis. We see just what's changed in the way that we operate since the NAR lawsuit got settled. Right. So I wanted to stay into this. And this is where the AI came in. I realized I took a 40-hour work week and trimmed it down to like 6. And I was able to do this by implementing AI into all of these different avenues of my business, right? And it's not so much like I had robots running around doing my whole job for me. It's just that I could use AI to take a task that would typically take me, 3 to 4 hours and trim it down into 10 minutes. And then that compounds over time. The more stuff I started to implement it in. So when I decided to take this journey on coaching, I'm like, well, if I'm going to coach agents on AI, I should probably have an automated business. So that's what I did. I automated my real estate side of my business inside my CRM. So AI and CRMs are kind of like beer and golf. They go together. And if you're not using them both at the same time, you're missing out. So what I did is I ended up implementing AI into my CRM automations to where only thing I ever have to worry about is making a phone call. Everything else would be automatically done. So property alerts would automatically be sent out. Market snapshots would be automatically sent out. All of my education and email informational campaigns would go out automatically. The text messages to book my appointments would go out automatically. And this freed up so much time that I can actually run 2 businesses right now, and I don't have to have a whole bunch of employees behind me. And this is how I'm able to coach. So the thing with implementation of AI is not thinking of it like, I'm going to have a chat bot that closes my client from beginning to end, right? That's not the case. But what we can do is we can have some of those mundane tasks that don't need us to be there, where they can happen automatically. And then I can focus more time on actually having the real conversations, building those real relationships. And then most importantly, in my opinion, spending more time with my family, because these kids grow up quick, man. I don't know if you have kids, Amanda, but I got 2 of them. One of them's 18 and the other one's 12 now. And it feels like yesterday they were just still walking around in diapers, and this time goes so quick. And when we're in real estate, and if you're a full-time agent, you could probably sit here and say, well, I miss a lot. It's funny because we get into this career to have more time, to have more control, but we end up a slave to our own business by working consistently on all this other stuff. The moment I realized that AI could take over my emailing, AI could take over the content that I'm creating online and helping me get my words out a little bit better than I do when I'm just babbling, and using it to plan my business. And a lot of people don't do this part yet, but I run SWOT analysis quarterly on my business, where I look at all my strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I will have AI handle that entire, facilitate that entire process, and then build an entire new business plan to go forward. And now I just have to follow that and execute that. And like I said, I've automated the entire end of my real estate business to where I still make over 6 figures a year on my real estate, but I don't even make phone calls anymore, because I'm usually doing stuff like this, right? I'm either on podcasts, or I'm speaking at events, or I'm coaching clients, or I'm building courses and doing YouTube videos that feed the AI side of my business. But I still have a fully sustainable real estate business in the background, and it's all because of proper implementation of AI.
And that's huge. And as you said, unfortunately, there are not good coaches out there because they're not using it, right? And who knows, maybe people are kind of getting coached with whatever ChatGPT is telling the coach to tell them.
You never know.
I'm telling you, like,
Yeah.
but that is so cool. So can you share like where people find you? Obviously on the descriptions in here, I'll have all your contact information, things like that. But I think you share YouTube, where would, find Adam Gillespie? Where do we
Yeah.
go?
Yeah, if you literally just go onto Google and search Adam Gillespie AI, I'll pop up everywhere. But my YouTube channel is packed full of actionable content that you guys can implement in your business today. And that's my biggest area of social media. But you can also find me on Instagram. Once again, if you just search Adam Gillespie AI, you can put it into Google, ChatGPT, Gemini, anything. It'll pull up everything for you. So that's one thing that I also used AI for, was to make me easier found online. So it's not too hard to find me. Like I said, you could just type in Adam Gillespie AI and you'll get pretty much all of my social media channels there.
That is super cool. You already gave me another nugget in here. I need to go tell AI, like, what am I have my name? Should I be changing my brand in any way so that I'm not mixed up with anybody else when they're searching for me online? Well, thank you so much for continuing to just drop, like, just ideas and sharing your story, which I feel like I learned even more about you today, and so much respect. So guys, if you're watching it, as I say, obviously you can rewind and hear more things, step by step, because there are so many gold in here. But then, if there's anything that Adam and I can do and partner up with you, obviously all his information is going to be below. We will love to just, see however we can help you just take your business to the next level, because we're definitely here to collaborate with this industry, because, I think I can speak for both of us, you're watching, you win, we all win. And that's, what we're all about. And that's why we want to see you grow. Any last few words here, Adam, before we let you go?
Yeah, guys, if you're afraid of AI, don't be, okay? Like, it's coming whether you like it or not. So it's not really a negotiable option anymore. Those of us that adapt to AI will prosper in the future here. And those of us that don't, it's going to be very hard to keep up because of the scalability opportunity that happens when we do this. So if you're afraid of it and you don't know where to start, you can always hit me up or just start using it like I did. Just start using it in the replacement of Google. Do these searches and start talking back and forth from it. I tell people all the time, it's called ChatGPT for a reason. It's so you can consult with it, you can chat with it, right? If it was just one prompt and you're done, they would have probably named it Prompt GPT. So you can really expand your knowledge on AI by just communicating with AI. So don't be afraid of it, jump into it, start doing some searches, start seeing what it can do, and then hit me up if you guys have any questions on it, because I promise you it will change your life in ways you could never think was possible.
Thank you so much. And as he said, don't wait any longer. Reach out to him. Go learn more about AI and implement that to your business today. Thanks, Adam. I really appreciate you. And I hope to see you soon. Bye.
All right, we'll see ya.